Hello again, fellow citizens of the United States and Canada. I'm Christopher Noel, and in today's video we will go into a lot more detail and depth about the ways we know about the proximity of Sasquatch territory to our own territory and how the two intersect one another. My live weekly show will begin Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, July 16th. And our special first guest will be Claudia Ackley, one of the pioneer activists in this effort, who for more than a year and a half now has been in the process of suing the state of California Fish and Wildlife Service for dereliction of duty, for not informing the public of what's in the woods that we need and deserve to know about. Please join the public group Sasquatch and Civic Duty on Facebook. I want to thank the 30-plus members of this group already in just a few days. After I released the first video in the Sasquatch and Civic Duty series, I heard from many who say, well, why don't we just leave them alone? I will be going into my response to this very understandable viewpoint next week. In the situations I'm going to present today, we can draw very important lessons about how we can be aware of the extreme and startling proximity of the Sasquatch species, to our own boundaries of civilization. My occasional podcast, called The Nearness of You, Sasquatch on the Boundaries, provides several of the examples I'm going to share with you today. And these examples could be multiplied by hundreds and almost definitely thousands in situations throughout North America. I mean, you just figure that this handful of people that I've been able to be in touch with and to interview represent just a tiny fraction of those that are out there undertaking their own personal experiments with this interspecies communication and interaction, that don't wish to be public figures, don't wish to give away their location even generally, or their names.
I started close, like right across the street from me. There's a really huge park, and it is connected with other parks by a huge creek that runs through my city, all the way out on the outskirts of the city as well, but also runs inside. Big creek, and at one point it becomes a really thick green belt, really nice. And I just thought, well, I'll go out and I'll start there. Like I thought, small potatoes, you know what I mean? Just kind of go out and just test the waters. And, I've never done anything like that in my life. I wouldn't know where to begin to find evidence of Sasquatch or, any of that activity. So for me, I'm sitting there going, man, what are you doing? Like, this is weird, and, all this stuff. And lo and behold, I found a structure the same day I went out to go look for a structure or any evidence, and it was impressive. I was blown away. I was floored, and I'm not easily floored. I'm not that type of person that gets easily swayed or floored. But my jaw dropped, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I mean, there was goosebumps, and my son was like freaking out, going, "Are you serious?" And I'm looking at this, going, "You've got to be kidding me." Here's what I thought before. I thought, I got to go out and I got to find a deep, forest or big piece of land, and I got to get out and make it this whole expedition thing, and draw it out with all this stuff I got to buy and whatever. And it wasn't really so. It blows me away. It really does, at how close this activity is to us. I mean, it's remarkable. Right underneath our noses, there's a consistency in what I found with somebody that's in Utah, somebody that's in Oregon or Washington State.
That's when it gets really powerful and stops you
Right.
in your tracks, and you realize there's no way that I'm just randomly finding the same things. There's a pattern here.
Yes, absolutely. It's become a way of life for me. It really has.
It never really occurred to me that I could go out and look. The Bigfoot researcher seemed like a serious deal. Like, you had to buy a casting kit, you had to do
I probably just never gave it much thought because I've grown up in Los Angeles and I'm a city gal. But throughout the years, I've grown to spend a hell of a lot more time outdoors. And then, seriously, about a year ago, starting about February, March, and Tim, I didn't realize Tim had this in-depth secret I don't know, obsession with it. So all this hiking we had done, and we just started transitioning into hiking off trail. Now we had a purpose. Now we were going to start going out and searching ourselves.
You got a fallen tree, but then you've got an upside down tree. Yeah, I guess about 5 or 6 dudes just grabbed that tree and set it on there for no reason at all.
Okay, Mike is over at the park at the end of their road at the lake. Man, there would be prints all up and down that muddy trail.
So they weren't being careful about not leaving them. They just leave them.
Yeah. Like the fence climber, that's one of the 3 cameras in that area right there. Because we had them looking at different directions. Right? So that one, and I was so sick over that. I mean, it's a great shot, but if I had it turned 1 inch further to the left, we'd have seen what all it was doing in the garden.
Oh.
Because what it was doing was checking out our tire setup at the front of at the far end of the garden. Now, see, this was part of the game.
So by that point, you had started doing these setups.
Oh yeah.
This is our new setup for tonight, and it's May 31st, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We've moved the tires, set up a new arrangement. We have gotten the little monkey on the chair. I've got my light set up here, and here's one of the food containers that we've set up. Hopefully we'll get action tonight.
So when did you start to do the pointing into the mirror trick?
After we got frustrated, well, they're coming up to the camera and messing with the camera and talking and pounding on it, and you know they're there. I mean, they're right there. And so, what's going on?
That was smart.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Well, you got some of your best stuff after that.
The one that got me was the night the one body slammed the tree.
Yeah.
So we've got the camera. This is nice. The camera is looking at the mirror, and I've got my Coleman lantern there. And it's just after dark. I mean, I'm laying on my couch watching this at late night, right, just about to fall asleep. And that thing comes running out of there and grunting and body slams that tree, and I jump straight up off that chair, man, out of my couch.
Wow.
Laying there, right? And I'm, whoa, man. And I'm telling you, the rest of the night, the next 5 hours, is spent messing with those chains.
Here's a photo of that tree taken after that night's events. Like I said, this is a Bodoc tree, or a Bois d'Arc tree, or however you want to say it, but known here in the South as one very, very tough piece of wood to break. You know, after a day or two, and day or night or two, they brought the tires back and placed them on that stump. Here's a photo of that.
So you'd get 1 or 2 clips, little clips, off maybe 6 hours. So that was a lot of, that's what would happen. You wouldn't get a whole lot, you'd get these little clips. But then MK took them, and that's when he began to do his analysis.
And go deeper.
Yeah, and so that's when, that was a real plus for us, because at the time, we weren't going to put them out. You know, we just hit them.
Just think how many people around the world, around North America, have stuff like this, and they don't put them out.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, here's what blew my mind, because when I came into this, I was told, well, they're just night. They're at night. They only do things at night.
Right. And that's just not true.
Half our footage was daytime stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You guys got a lot of great audio. I mean, that's the best audio since the Barry Moorhead tapes.
Let me tell you what the weirdest one was, and you heard that. That's the one where it goes down real low, and they go,
Yeah.
okay, that was a freaky one there. That was in response to out there at the picnic table. Mike had put a fence around it, and you'll hear this kind of a, like it's shaking something, like corrugated tin, the fence that he put up around this picnic table. That particular Bigfoot took offense to that fence being up.
It took offense to a fence.
Right.
Alote. Adina. Alote.
It had to have been there the entire time, watching me, standing there quietly. It astounds me. It really, I don't not really quite have the words to express what, realizing that means to me. And then for it to hear it and then to see it walk away as I ran away, I've almost, thought, did it do that because I was getting too close? Did it do this in order to wake me up and to alert me to their presence, to their capabilities, that they can hide literally right beside you and you don't even see them. You don't even know that they're there. But certainly that day I saw it, I heard it. It was very close to me, just at the back of the shrubs. And I ran, but as I turned, I saw it walk away, I heard it walk away, and my life was forever changed. And that was really the beginning of me desiring, craving to pursue understanding of Sasquatch and to get to the bottom of what happened that day. It was a very personal, emotional encounter that I'd had, and I found it difficult to talk about it with anybody because of the impact it had on me. It changed my outlook on the universe, on life, on nature, and it put me on a path that I've never been able to leave. And I see it as a blessing. I'm grateful to have been on it, to have been put on it, to have kind of been kicked onto it. But I recognize that this path has only continued to open me up and push me forward and help me evolve emotionally and spiritually and mentally and as a human being. And it's probably been one of the greatest gifts I've been given my entire life. It was around that same time I started finding larger structures near where I live, near urban centers, near towns, near highways, near golf courses, near orchards, near where people live.
wouldn't think that they were like right in the middle of this city. The first day we went out there looking, we found our first structure. There were a lot of interweaving sticks, and also sticks that weren't from anywhere like close, like any trees close. And this was right off the trail too. And this is, you know, that's one of the amazing parts about the areas that I go to. Some of the most amazing structures that I find, the most intricate, just well built, just mind blowing structures are found really close. Really close. Like, they're very obvious to the people who know what they're looking for. I've crawled into these structures and have sat there and watched people just stroll by and just walk by, and they don't even glance. They don't even take a second glance at it. And I'm seriously sitting there going, are you kidding me? Like, this is like one of the biggest structures I've ever found, and you guys are just going to walk by this, like, you know, because people just don't think it's possible. Right now, I'm just really interested in how they're getting away with being right under our noses. Like, seriously, it is so crazy. Looking for Sasquatch is kind of like looking around your house all day for your glasses when they're on your head the whole time.
I want to thank Nathan Rio for his pioneering work on especially this topic of the intersection between our species and the Sasquatch species. He has kindly given me permission to use some clips from his videos that are no longer available on the internet. Many other videos, however, are available on his Patreon channel, which I highly recommend.
I just chose one particular area because it's so fascinating to me, the different behaviors and stuff exhibited in these areas. I think it's really kind of representative, I think, of Sasquatch behavior. Okay, these green lines represent routes of travel. All of these little Bigfoots are places where I have personally gone and I've seen significant sign. The lines are places where I have either found corridors that are marked, or I assume that that's where they're coming down. And then these sightings are a bunch of different reports that I've either gotten directly, you know, someone has emailed me directly privately, or they are from, this one's from YouTube, and there are a couple other ones that I've found out kind of through the grapevine. These yellow things are all sightings. This strip right here, this strip of highway has a lot of sightings. These yellow things are sightings along this highway. And then even here in this area, little girl saw one standing in her backyard. It's interesting too because there's a military base here, which creates basically a large area where there's no development. So along this side, if you can see, there's just continuous forest here. Now, the sightings begin as what I believe happens is that they start to cross right here, and somehow they make it over here. They probably kind of just stay up in this scrub oak. I had no idea that this would make this much sense. I didn't know that I'd be able to draw such a clear distinction in where they were actually moving. But once I started plotting all this stuff, it became pretty clear where the corridors are. Very clear. And I just didn't expect it to be so obvious. To me, this is the behavior of a living organism, flesh and blood, that is taking measures to survive during the winter and to hunt. You know, there's a lot of these places, like this area, for instance, where the deer come down literally by the hundreds during the winter.
I think what Rio has been able to accomplish here in just one small city in central Utah should stand as an inspiration for what any of us could accomplish if we focused on our own location and put out feelers, made it known that we were the Bigfoot contact in the area. and interviewed people so that we too could assemble a coherent understanding of the flow through recent history of Sasquatch contact and activity in the fingers of their territory as they wind their way through our own settlements. I think that Nathan's breakdown that we see here should serve as a prototype for what we in this movement will be able to put together in the coming months and years.
Now, this is just a tiny area. Let me tell you, I could have drawn the exact, like actually even much more if I had gone right here. This entire area here, I could literally fill. There's so many sightings around here, it's just ridiculous. So I could fill up this, like a lot of the city right here, and then up the backside of this entire mountain, this mountain range, I could fill so much. I could do the same thing for up here by, there it is, up here by Manaway. All up here, the back of Willard Peak, Black Mountain. It's just incredible, guys. I could do the same thing. I could fill up all sorts of signs and tracks all along Blacksmith Fork Canyon, and especially into Tony Grove. There's a whole lot right in just this one freaking canyon. And this one canyon, there's so much that happens. And there have been so many sightings here. I only thought that there were a couple until I really started meeting a lot of people, and people from Salt Lake started getting into my YouTube channel. The point that I'm trying to make is that, I mean, look at this. American Fork Canyon is off the hook. I could absolutely fill this entire mountain. This is Timpanogos Peak with trails and sign and footprints and sightings and everything. So here's the thing that makes me wonder. This is Payson Canyon here. It's just crazy. Here's the thing that makes me wonder about all this. I know that tree structures are really old. You know, you can't really tell when the Sasquatch are coming through most of the time. But sometimes they're brand new. And I've seen it happen. In fact, I've gone to places along the Weber River. It's right here. There was a massive tree structure that did not exist. I came back the very next day. There was no storm, nothing, no rain, nothing. And an entire gigantic tree structure was there. And so Dr. Jeff Meldrum says that there's probably not even 5,000 Sasquatch in North America. And I think, well, how am I seeing so much activity? How on earth am I finding all of these things in all of these areas if there's so few Sasquatch? Look how specific it is. I don't think that they're everywhere at all. I think that there's maybe a family or a clan per segment. See, like here's a little partition of this mountain range. Maybe there's a family there. Maybe there's a family here. Now here's the other thing that makes me think that there's an actual Sasquatch near when I go out. I mean, this seems pretty, in my mind at least, pretty conclusive. That there are wood knocks. Okay, I'll even go out at like 1 in the morning and stuff into the mountains. How are there wood knocks and whistling and stuff? Why would there be a Sasquatch where I am? Why wouldn't it be chilling over here in this canyon here? Why would it be exactly where I am? I just don't understand that. If there are so few of them. The population is like grossly underestimated. Again, they're not everywhere. They need specific conditions for very, very realistic, practical reasons. There's the deer, the food source, the water, the privacy, the cover and concealment. See, nothing at all about this indicates that these things have supernatural powers.
This year, the experiment will be to locate just one microforest containing likely Sasquatch structures, and then to just listen in for months and months. I'm out to establish two premises here that members of this species predictably and regularly return to forests once they have planted their flags, their handiwork, and 2, that it's possible to monitor their behavior over time by means of a long-term listening post. Well, I didn't have to look far for my research site because I found structures, lots of them, in the 18-acre forest surrounding my own mother's neighborhood. How random and lucky! Then again, we're all increasingly recognizing that Sasquatch frequently operate right smack dab alongside our own settlements.
There is a road that goes from Mount Currie to Darcy, British Columbia. I live on that road. And the amount of Sasquatch sightings that have been on that road between Mount Currie and Darcy is kind of frickin' mind-boggling. And I'll give a handful of them to you. One guy I talked to, a white guy, married to a native woman, he told me he tracked an 18-inch footprint with a 6-foot stride through the snow. It came down off the bank, crossed the highway, and went down to the bank of the Birkenhead River, across the train tracks, down to the Birkenhead River, 6-foot stride, 18 inches, and he pulled over and parked and went after it and started tracking it, and sure enough, he said there it was in the river. Snow everywhere, and here's this frickin' black Sasquatch in the river. Another young fella, good close friend of mine, he came around the bend and said this thing was about to step onto the road. Saw him coming, it took one step back, stood in the ditch on the low side of the road, and it towered over his truck as he drove by, the charcoal black. He said it really freaked him out, and it was actually pretty upsetting for him to see that thing. The girlfriend of mine, she lives on that road. She lives about midway up, and she had a Rottweiler that would basically rip anybody in half at any time. I got along with it, and she said that she's upstairs. She's upstairs in her bedroom watching TV, dog's in there, and something started slapping the side of her house that high up, shaking the whole house, and the dog was crapping itself crawling under the bed. Where normally if anybody even came up and knocked on the door, that sucker's ready to rip through the door and go run outside and rip him in half. And that great big A-type Rottweiler was whimpering, crying, vibrating, shaking, and trying to crawl underneath the bed. And she was terrified. Oh, and another story I heard of, there's a couple sightings of a very large, hairy-like, non-human face peeking in people's windows. All these different stories that I'd gathered on that strip of highway, paved road. There's no shortage of the little minor ones, which I call them, the incidents. The faces peeking in houses, or the houses getting slapped, the potatoes going missing. That's just in one quick little strip, just up the road from my house. So Sasquatch stories are very, very common. If you have an honest curiosity about it, all you have to do is be honest and supportive for people and talk to them with respect, and you will find the same amount of stories that I find as well. And it's just amazing to me that tens of thousands of people's testimony is actually scoffed at and not good enough in the eyes of many people in society. Because guess what? The testimony of tens of thousands of good people, honest people, is evidence, and that's all the evidence we need, and that's all the evidence we should need. That is common sense.